and I'm glad to be moderating today's panel session, where we will focus on the future of Web3 social ecosystem. And here with us, I believe we have three protocols that are with us today: NextID, RSS3, and Web3 MQ. And then two applications that are also with us today: Metaphoro and Firefly. And they're either invested by our Mask Bonfire Venture Capital Fund, or they are incubated by Mask, the parent company. And today's, I guess, we're going to focus on building the next, generation of Web3 social ecosystem, right? And to begin with, I believe we can, start by asking everyone to introduce themselves. I'll start with myself. I am the CFO of Mass Network and our ecosystem fund. I have I'm a Honky myself, born and raised in Hong Kong, went to Oxford University, and did a few years of investment banking across BNP Paribas and Goldman Sachs before becoming the CFO of Mass Network. So that's my own background, and I guess I'll cue other people, one by one, and maybe each can spend 2 to 3 minutes introducing yourselves, what you do, and maybe a brief background of your project. And why don't we just start with maybe the the two projects that are incubated by us, NextID and Firefly first. Maybe we can begin. Is Terrence on the line? Maybe we can start with Terrence from Firefly. Hello?
I think Terrence is not here.
Yeah, I don't think Duanwei, I don't think Terrence is here yet.
He's joining. He's joining. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we start with Homin first, representing NextID. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Hi everyone. From Homei, from the co-founder of NextID. So NextID is DID protocol, originally from Mask, and we just pull off the infra from Mask and make it a decentralized identity system. Also, the infra for any dApps or any wallets, you can just directly to use our solution and build social or games on top of our profile solution or the identity system.
Sure. Okay. While we're waiting for Terrence, why don't we also move on to the three other projects that our ecosystem fund has invested into. Why don't we start with Yao? Maybe a little bit about yourself and what your project is about. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Yao. I'm a serial startup founder, specializing in mobile and decentralized applications. I've built a successful mobile apps for online communities with over 30 million downloads and ongoing user engagement. Last year, I dived into the world of Web3 and developed Metaphoro, a Web3 native form system for governance in Web3 projects. I'm passionate about true Web3 governance, empowering community participate, and promoting transparency. With my technical expertise and user-centric design skills, I'm dedicated to creating an impactful platform and benefit both communities and the developers. Let's embrace the possibilities of Web3 together and shape more inclusive and transparent digital future. Thanks for having me here.
Sure. I see that Terrence, who goes by the name of Cheng Wu here, is also online. I also see Joshua from RSS3. So I think we're only missing Luke. So maybe let's see if Duanwei can also loop him in. But meanwhile, just to synchronize with the two late joiners, okay. So I think Terrence has also turned on his camera. Appreciate if Joshua can also turn on his camera later. So basically, we're just at the beginning, just everybody introducing themselves. So Homin has just given a brief introduction of what NextID is about and his own background. and the same applied for Yao. So while we're waiting for Luke, I guess we're happy to have Terrence also, doing a bit of self-introduction and what Firefly is about. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Hi guys. I'm Terrence. I'm from Firefly. I'm currently a Firefly product lead, and also I'm an investor from Master Network. And just before I joined Master Network, I was running a startup for 2 years, and also I'm early members in TikTok. That's a really basic background about myself, and also just a quick introduction about Firefly. And Firefly is a mobile Web3 social aggregator. It's currently incubated under Master Network. And we're building on top of Web2 and Web3 protocols, including Lens, Vercaster, Miro, and to provide users all in one feed. And so we can let users be able to have a hybrid all-in-one timeline experience. And there's no need for users to switch between those kind of different clients. And in Firefly, you will be able to cross postings through different platforms. And also you can follow the same person, both having a Lens and Vercaster at the same time by just one click. And fundamentally, we provide user Twitter, Lens, Vercaster content in a hybrid timeline. So just one thing I kind of want to emphasize is we are a mobile app. And because with even though there's a lot of paradigm shift in Web3, but in terms of user interface, people is still waiting to interact with people with their mobile device. So that's where is Firefly. And our vision is kind of help user to migrate their social graph from Web2 to Web3, and let user have their true power to manage their social graph through different protocols. That's a really quick introduction about ourselves.
Sure. Thank you very much, Terrence. It's a very detailed introduction. And let's also hand over the podium to Joshua from RSS3.
Alrighty, thank you, Derek. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to talk about myself and RSS3 as well. So RSS3, we define ourselves as the information layer of the open web. Basically, we cover everything, every piece of information, or at least we try to cover every piece of information in the open web. It might be a decentralized network like blockchains, or something that's not a blockchain like IPFS or Nostr. And we power a lot of information usages. For example, Firefly is an application that we power. Other social applications also, and at the same time, search engines like Hoot, and also AI usages as we use our data to train AI models. Recently, we also have the official Web3 activity plugin into the ChatGPT GPT-4, and we are looking forward to getting more informational usage for the protocol.
Sure. Thank you very much. And I think we are still waiting for Luke to join in. But I guess in the meantime, we can just move on and just start discussing some of the questions that we've prepared while we wait for him. So I think for for today's session, right, we can kind of briefly categorize the 5 projects into 2 categories. 3 of them are kind of protocols. 2 of them are dApps. Metaphoro and Firefly are more like applications. NextID, RSS3, and Web3MQ are more like protocols. So maybe we can begin by discussing social protocols, right? And it does feel like we look at the world of Web2. Some of the major components of WeChat, for example, right? You can consider NextID, quite pretty much a replica of the WeChat login and the contact list there. And Web3MQ is the messaging, the chatting part, while RSS3 is closely associated with like the feeding part, right? So I guess I'll leave the floor open for open discussion and to see how do you guys see the 3 protocols complementing each other, and how do they make each other kind of better, right? And maybe we can begin with NextID, for example, because I know NextID is also working closely with other projects. So I'll leave the floor to Homan to begin. Thank you.
Thanks for. I think this is a really good question, since we have been working with Web3MQ and RSS3 for a long time. Originally we're aiming for just to build the social graph, and how we can just open the social graph for everyone. They can directly to use the data inside of the social graphs and from our graph database, and to analyze their users persona and better understand what is the protocols or their dApps their users are using frequently. So basically, we are pulling the data or the information from RC3, and we're also working with Web3 MQ. They can directly use our identity system to help their users identify each other and to talk to each other. I think we are also the center to just connect all the users handles, all the users accounts from Web2 like Twitter or Facebook, or from the different chains like Sui, Aptos, or even Ethereum. So we just connect everything in one place, and we are just supporting the multi-chain. We're just to support the multi-chain wallets, and they can just use cryptographically connect with the users their own wallets in one place, and everyone can just talk to each other and identify all the wallets belongs to one one user. So all the user analytics or data visualization can just happen from our protocol and can interact with us.
Sure. Who wanna go next? Maybe Joshua. Hello, Joshua.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Sorry. Yeah, just as Homin was talking about, we definitely collaborate with a lot of different protocols, and at the same time, you could see how all of these three protocols would together make something more of a complete social scenario. And I think one example is how we work with NextID is people or different users would have information across different platforms. And these platforms are very likely to be a mix of Web 2 or Web 3 or something in between, right? For example, someone might be posting stuff at Farcaster and Lens and Twitter and possibly on Mastodon at the same time. And when we are trying to deliver, as I said before, we are the open information layer here. We're trying to make sure that we capture all of these information and make sure they have owners, they have ownerships. And NextID is a perfect tool for us to connect all of these different accounts because we already have these information, and we can then assign all of these information to the same person or user or entity behind it. And I think this is one of the great synergies here. And also with the communication protocol, Web3 MQ, we definitely could build something that's at least as good as the traditional Web 1 or Web 2 experience. But of course, we're looking forward to getting something more magical as the interoperability in Web 3 is tremendously more and better than Web 1 and Web 2.
Sure. Okay. Now that we have Luke on the line as well, I guess happy for you to make a self intro, about your own background, and then about what your company does, and then we're just going through the first question where we are exploring how the three protocols can complement each other, can work with each other, and Homin and Joshua have both discussed about that. So I'll leave the floor to you.
Cool. I'll try to keep it brief and succinct along with this short, brief intro. I'm Luke. Been working on social technical networks for quite a while, since grad school, a while back at the MIT Media Lab. Later on, been mostly doing Web 2 social and whatnot. And back in the day, I was also a AI guy in terms of academics. So that's briefly my background. Web3MQ, in a really brief, succinct manner, is a trustless L3 relay network that provides trustless interactions and trustless and permissionless reach to Web3. So what we do is we try to make it possible for any person or machine to be able to reach somebody or some other machine in a permissionless and trustless manner. So you don't need to be, have the permission of Amazon in terms of AWS infrastructure. You don't need to have permission in terms of, Facebook or Twitter's platform. And permissionlessly, you could reach an address or a person or a node. So that's what we fundamentally do as an infrastructure network. And what that opens up for in terms of a composable social landscape, we think is quite meaningful in the fact that, say NextID and RSS3, these are all very critical components of social, right? NextID brings interoperable identity. RSS3 is this great interoperable layer in terms of feeds and data and whatnot. But fundamentally, what you need is also this critical capability to reach that person, right? It's social. You want to connect with people. I know somebody's identity, and it has a great profile that I want to connect with. But currently in Web 2, that actual connection, the channel that makes that actual connection possible is like heavily permissioned. Like Twitter controls it, Facebook controls it, and they have to say yes in order for you to be able to connect with that person. And that's why fundamentally current Web 2 social is not composable. Like it's easy to build composable technology, right? It's easy to build a certain subset of a module that's composable. But what's not possible in Web 2 is that fundamental reach infrastructure layer is being built in this very permissioned way. And so it's impossible to connect these great identities, like say NextID, or like say these great data feeds from RSS3, unless you go through permissioned internet infrastructure. And so what we're filling out in that sense is we make it possible for these IDs to connect and talk to each other, so that I can send messages or notifications, or I can follow, like say, these feeds from RSS3 so that I can actually receive those things to actual clients, but in a permissionless manner. So that's kind of what we do. And fundamentally, kind of also looking into the future, what we hope this would empower is like, say things like Clubhouse, right? You have a very good new feature, but you don't want to build out the whole social stack by yourself. Can we have this foundation, this soil where I can just plug that on top and take advantage of these interoperable social graphs and identities that NextID is building, and this interoperable data and feed layer that RSS3 is building, and to be able to actionably connect across that. That's kind of one thing that we really care about, and we really care about being that bridge between these great identities, great data sets, and great new applications. So that's kind of really quick gist of what we do here at Web3MQ.
Sure. Thank you very much. That's also a very detailed intro. I think our viewers should be pretty familiar with what you do by now. And I think it is good to see, projects across our MaaS ecosystem complementing each other and working with each other, because I think I can speak a little bit on behalf of MaaS itself, right? So it really is our vision to build, the social ecosystem in a more comprehensive and a more holistic way. And social is a multi-category industry, right? Like you need people who are, building the protocols. You need people who are building the applications. That's how I briefly categorize, today's audiences, right? But on top of that, there are a lot of other, subcategories that really need, the best of the best to work with each other. And, that's why, it is important that we both, from MaaS perspective, we have a VC fund. Obviously, we would invest, but at the same time, we would also incubate projects such as, Firefly, that is, represented by Terrence, and NextID represented by Homin. And so I think there's a particular question that I guess we want to dedicate to NextID in particular, because NextID is actually adopting the aggregation approach right here. So would like to understand, I guess, the business logic behind that in a little bit more detail. So it would be great if Homin can elaborate that a little bit more for our viewers.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone may have the same question: why, how the DID can just monetize on, or what is the business model? But in crypto world, we barely to say business model this work, but yeah, we can. So I can just like quickly to emphasize what we're doing for now, and we just want to provide the infras like DID infras and your profile infras for free, like anything for free. But we are trying to monetize or trying to get like how we can just monetize, or we can just help the developers to just monetize through our data. And the data is from everywhere, basically, like on-chain data or off-chain data, or the data is from RC3 or from other data sources like Server Connect. So it's basically everywhere. But we are the central, and we are the solution to just connect all the data in one place, and it's in the one social graph database. And everyone can just use our data and to just identify the users, like their multiple wallets or multiple identities or multiple identifiers, or even like Twitter or Google accounts or even Steam accounts in one place. So that can help the developers or the platforms to better understand their users' activities on chain or off chains. So, for example, like there's some users they are using Quest and or Galaxy. They signed up or they signed up for the airdrop or something, but like anti-sable. So this is one of the use case we're trying to reach out. We're trying to approach like all the other platforms. If they have they're going to airdrop, so they want to understand what's the reputation, or even give the users credit score to understand, are they the real users or are they just a boss to get the airdrop? So we're trying to anti-sable and understand who is going to, so which account is the sable. And this can also help the platforms to understand what's the persona and what's the platforms or dApps their users usually interact with. And they can also like give some recommendation. They can use they can do many things like recommendation algorithm or reputation score or credit score based on the identity. So we're just here to providing the identity and the profile system for the Web3 dApps, and they can just try to figure out how they can just monetize or how they can use our data to do so many things.
Actually, I do personally have a follow-up question on that. So for our viewers' benefits, I do encourage you guys to try our relational graph search engines, where we have already developed that. And basically, if you type in, let's say your ENS handle, right, like or lens handle, whatever handle, we're already able to show you all your other social media footprints essentially, and basically present it in a relational graph. I just wanted to ask the following question, right? What prompts Homin, or what prompts the NextID team to develop this graph? Right? I personally find that very, very useful, and I just wanted to understand what is the business logic behind developing such a graph.
Yeah, so when also for example, like in the Web2 world or the centralized world, so your social graph, like your followers, your connections are all stored by the platforms like LinkedIn or Twitter or even Facebook. So all your social graph is centralized stored in their own server. So they can just monetize through your social graph. They can just push the notification. They can push the ads for you, and you will just so basically in Web2 world. So you are just a product, and the platform's user or their. So that's why they just like use the user this world to just identify everyone. So basically they're selling users. They're selling the product to the ad buyers and to the ad platforms. So they can just monetize through through all the users and through all your own social graph. So the reason we want to just open everything, like open the social graph, is we can do many things. We can see so many things based on the social graph. So for example, like I really want to like reach out to Derek, but I don't know. So I never met Derek before. So maybe Terrence or maybe Luke met Derek before, but maybe online they talked before. But how I enter, so how I know, so how do I know how I can just talk to Derek? Who can just intro me to Derek? And so I can just view online. I can just search, or in natural language, I can just search how I can reach out to Derek. So the database, so our database can just help the users. They can directly help me to understand. Maybe I should just reach out to Joshua. Maybe I should reach out to Luke, and they can just help me or intro me to Derek, and we can just meet each other. So before you guys need to use LinkedIn or even use Twitter. But for now, in the future, so this doesn't matter. So for in any platforms or in any type of the social platforms, so you can just view all the social graph, like from Lens or from Forecast or even from Blue Sky in the future. So everything, all the identities will be the unified universal profile. So that is also one of the SDK where we're trying to build for other platforms. They can just with one click, with one single sign-on, they can have their users universal profile. So that will be very useful and very convenient for their users. Also for the developers, they can directly to build their own user indexing or profile indexing solution.
Sure. That's very detailed elaboration on that. I just wanted to quickly add on that before we move on. So I think ultimately, because I personally like what the Next ID team is doing a lot, like just my personal feedback, and I think this is going to be disruptive at the end. And if you come to think about the Web2 world, where Google ads or Facebook ads are earning most of the ad revenue, right? Because if let's say there's a Coca-Cola, right, company paying millions of dollars to Facebook ad every year, because they would ask Facebook to maybe tell them who are the people who have had ordered Coca-Cola for the past week, right? Give me 100 accounts that have done that, right? Then they could target the ads to those people, right? But who are actually earning that ad revenue, ad dollar by utilizing users' data, right? It is Facebook ad at the moment, which is a centralized agency. And if we can manage to really provide a DID solution, at least we're giving people an option, right? I mean, we're already seeing some revolution in other categories, non-social categories, right? In gaming, for example, decentralized gaming is already happening, right? When we were young, when we just played Pokemon games, we caught a Pokemon. It doesn't cost me, and it doesn't give me any monetary value. But if you play Axie Infinity these days, right, like when you also catch a monster, like the users can actually benefit from putting in the effort, right, leaving the gaming footprint, right, like there's some monetization value there. So I guess the same logic applies here, right? The social footprint that we left throughout our lifetime, should there be some monetary value? That there is obviously huge monetary value, right? But who is actually benefiting from it right now? It is the likes of centralized social media giants like Facebook, like Instagram, like Twitter, right? So whether users should be able to also benefit or at least have an option to opt for a decentralized option, I think this is what the vision of Next ID is, and I personally like it a lot, and I find it very impressive. And I guess moving on for the app side. I think for the apps, we have today two representatives from Firefly and Metaphoro, and I guess maybe we'll begin with maybe Terrence talking about how your app is interacting with the protocols that we've mentioned, and I guess just social media protocol in general. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Just in terms of like utilizing the protocols, to be honest, actually we are using like hybrid solutions. The problem we're facing is like we definitely hope like every service could be like on-chain, but the problem is like the fully decentralized is currently like impossible and based on current infra. So we can but the key component of Web3 dApp is supposed to be on decentralized. So the solution we have is kind of like we make a middle layer service in centralized way to improve the user service and to improve the like user experience. Because we are like direct to customer client, so definitely the user experience supposed to be our like first priority. But we move our like DID system and data resources in a decentralized way. So that's how we collaborate with protocols. Just give you a quick examples about like how we collaborate. For example, like our account system and DID system, just once user log in Fairfly, is actually controlled by NextID. So it's all the likely information is in NextID's data system and database. And also where we get the on-chain content, we just directly use RSS3, and RSS3 is providing a really good and real-time on-chain timeline. So and also like RSS3 can help us to create a hybrid timeline. For example, like the overlap of forecaster and the lens following list, they must have like a subset of wallet address. So with those, we just use those like overlap wallet address to create a hybrid timeline. So that's how we collaborate with RSS3. And also we leave a really huge space for Web3 MQ. Is like in a social app, there's definitely a huge space for like instant message. For example, like push notification and direct message. So this is for Luke actually, but yeah, we're gonna like start collaborate like in the following months. But this is definitely our roadmap, because this is the difficult part. And also like one more interesting thing is because Twitter, you may heard of like Twitter block the third-party client, and like also like it blocked the API, and they put like a really like limited like API request on that. So but the thing is, we actually have a lot of data crawler partner, so we can have a part of like a really huge amount of Twitter data. Twitter data on a daily basis. So there's an opportunity for us to redistribute tweets by using Web3 MQ. So that's something like examples we collaborate with protocols. Yeah, and there's one more thing I kind of want to share with is because I actually have a lot of Web2 experience, a complete traditional like social app, at least in Web2. It requires tons of work. For example, just you have your own account system, you must have your indexer, and also you may build a like search engine on top of the indexers. And also improve each component of that is really time consuming. So yeah, back to the Web3 world. Since like Web3 companies usually have a really smaller team size. So it's really we don't really have manpower to improve each component just by ourselves. So this situation like force us to collaborate with each other to build a better like Web3 complete applications. And that's my perspective.
Sure. And Luke, do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for us, one thing on the application side that we're trying to do is really to build better bridges. Chang said, I think Terrence just said, how to, build these kind of, I guess in some ways, information bridges, and also like instant messaging bridges between, different profiles and whatnot. But for us, we also, support things like Discord and Telegram and whatnot, and kind of bridging that, towards like Web3 identities, and behind that having this decentralized network to support that. That's kind of one big thing that we are doing, and kind of, I guess, on the application side, Web2 in its full has way more users than Web3, right? Like Ton probably, like Telegram probably has more users than Web3 combined. So I think, kind of moving forward, applications and Web3 social, and this is also kind of where Mask started, right? That's something that's kind of at heart probably for Mask too, like bridging the worlds of Web2 and Web3, because you can't really just jump off of a world, right? You're always kind of building on top of things that currently exist in situations that currently are. And so for us, we have this big dream of making Web3 social composable and whatnot, but yeah, it's also about user adoption. So for us, kind of how to bridge like Web 2 and Web 3 users in terms within that product, like within the Web 2 product and the Web 3 products, and then also how to do that in this, but also in a Web 3 native manner. That's kind of something that we're really focusing on and passionate about right now, and we kind of feel and hope that the whole industry can kind of jump in and kind of attack, or not attack, but try to evangelize and solve that as a problem. Yeah.
Sure. I'll also leave the floor to Yao as well, because on the app side, I suppose you also have some comments to make.
Yeah, we do have integrated several Web3 components, such as we have integrated the follow relationship component by CyberConnect, the payment component by Everpay, and the reputation component by Karma. We also talked to Luke a few times how to integrate the Web3 MQ to add the charter functionality to the form. Additionally, we recently had a discussion with the Gitcoin team, and we will add in the Gitcoin passport pretty soon. Yeah, I agree with the Terence just said. By integrating with this service, we can focus on building just our core functionality, which greatly accelerates the product development. In the Web 2 era, users would register accounts and generate data within different products, ultimately store the data in separate databases. In Web 3, all protocols and applications work together to help the user build its own data and associate with a single wallet. I think this helps the whole industry. It will be a significant increase in productivities compared to Web 2. Yeah, that wraps up my feedback to your question.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So if we just move on and continue with our conversation. I think I just want to quickly echo on what Luke just said, right? Because you briefly mentioned about Mask. Mask itself is also, it started with being an app itself, right? And if you come to think about, transforming Web3 social, there were two paths for us in the beginning, right? We could either build a completely new social media platform, or we transform an existing Web 2 platform into and bring the Web 3 elements into it. And we chose obviously the latter part, right? And that's why we work very closely with Twitter. And right now, we pride ourselves as the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, right? And that's I guess the success of Mars, right? We that way is actually more natural, right, for us to grow users. That way is more natural for us because, if you want to transition someone completely into the world of Web3, you do have to start with, something that they're familiar with, which in this case is Twitter for us. So that brings me to the next question, right? It is a bear market right now, and I think there's no sugarcoating it, and I think it will probably take some time for the bear market to recover. So I do. This is more like an open question for both of you, for both Terence and Yao, and where do you see where do you see your strategy in terms of growing the app? Both of you will need users, right? Obviously, to adopt, right, your app, and where do you see your strategies, and what would be the main focus there? In order for your app to become even more successful under a bear market. Yeah, I'll start with Terence maybe. Yeah.
In bear market, actually, we need a better app to acquire users, and and I think at least there's a lot of space like for infra to improve. First of all, like when we're developing Firefly, we realize there's a really a lot of like detailed problem like when we're developing the detailed stuff. For example, like the first one is we need a better performance storage and file gateway. That's something we met like when we implement like the lens engagement features. And also, we need a like better account system. Account abstract is definitely a hot topic. Everyone is talking about. We need a more flexible gasless solutions. Right now, like for example, like Lens have gasless solutions, but it's not that flexible. Still there's some issue regarding it, and also like once you have the gasless, you still there's a couple activities you need to pay the transaction fee. That's something else. And also, yeah, we definitely also need some accelerator. For example, gateway for on-chain content. Yeah, just a quick example is like when we deal with NFT content, some NFT content is just stored in IPFS and some just directly in Amazon S3. So they have a relatively like different performance, like when we try to load those pictures. So definitely there's supposed to be a provider can help us to improve this improve these issues. So yeah, there's so in order to have a better applications, we definitely need a better infrastructure. So that's the first thing and the fundamental stuff. And like in terms of bear market, I think this is a really good timing for us. First of all, we have enough time to improve our application step by step. That's the first thing. And also like this bear market can help us filter out some like short vision project. If you don't have patience, you may just you have less competitors. So that's something else. And also like no matter in bear market or bull market, social is actually a user daily need. So so yeah, definitely users are still gonna stick with social platform. For example, even the transaction volume dropped, the people are still willing to like post tweets and talk about rumors recently. So that's this is the daily need. So and some new use case may drive the future growth. There's some direction in my mind. The first one is a content tab. Usually, like for example, like TikTok and Douyin is driven by a different content tab. It's a vertical video, but content tab is definitely the first growth driver for social. Like for example, in bear market, just some imagination is like for example, like knowledge sharing based content. Like maybe creator can share knowledge about like AI, generative AI, or like Web3, modular blockchain, or this kind of thing, and to generate revenue. So that's the first thing. And also there's some like a new protocol can support like new content tab. For example, like ERC 6551, and that's a new protocol. It's kind of combined with different assets to NFT. So that's the next thing. Yeah, so definitely the first thing is a brand new content tab can generate some like growth driver. So the next stuff in my mind is we like in bear market usually like we gonna have some special topics. Just a quick example in my mind is because like last year I remember like Trump just migrate to Mastodon. And this is a really good case. Is Trump just attract a lot of users from Twitter to Mastodon. So that's another case may happen in bear market. And also following is Black Swan. For I think few weeks ago, Reddit blocked their API as well, and a lot of developers get mad about this. So they decided to like fork a decentralized Reddit. So that's another like a driven. Yeah. So, but just overall speaking, I think new use case is driven by all builders who can like help Web3 go mass adoption. Yeah, that's my.
Sure. I'll hand over the floor to Yao, maybe.
Yeah. First of all, I think the bear market do affect the whole market. The whole major customers of Metaforol is the DAOs and crypto projects. We have DAOs and the crypto projects to build its own communities. We can see lots of communities become much less active compared with the last year. And some projects even stopped operating. The communities have thousands of members become pretty silent for now. But we still can see some positive thing. Lots of the decent community is still keep building, and new groups has been created on Metaforol every day. We still get the feedback and requirements from our customers every single day, and yeah. And I agree with something just Terence mentioned about the social. No matter it's a Web2 or Web3, it's something people engaged in frequently, and When something happens frequently, it needs to be easier accessible to users. However, the current experience for the crypto space is still pretty lacking. The first hurdle to overcome is a wallet experience. For example, on Metaforo, there are lots of people use the asset-weighted voting every day, but users often have a separate wallet for their everyday and use and access costly. That creates the usability issues, but I strongly believe as the infrastructure continue to be mature, these issues will be resolved. In my opinion, the account abstraction wallet will be the game changer. Make on-chain operation much safer and simpler to users. It will do help for all the social apps in the Web3 industry. And for the grow up, I think the bear market, we should be talk more in the community with our customers. The projects which keep building in the bear market, I think they will be have a faster grow up when the bull market back. What we will do is help them to build better communities and help them to build the governance process on Metaforo. So yeah, I think that's my answer for the question.
Sure. I think both Terence and Yao have elaborated in a lot more details regarding how to survive and obviously evolve and grow in the bear market, right? And I guess that comes another key I guess issues that a lot of people are concerned about, right? Especially when it comes to the application side of things, and it is a fake usage metrics. We do hear a lot about especially in our space, right? The social space, right? Like there are some competitors that actually don't care about whether the usage metrics are fake or not, right? And they would do that. So they would do that anyhow, right? There was sometimes it's buy artificial users to boost up the metrics, maybe for financing, maybe for various reasons. So do want to hear your view on on this issue or this matter, right? And maybe I can start with Terence again.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I think this is not only for Web3 social. For example, like the other blockchain infra is facing this as well. Like people jump here and do some transaction and looking for airdrop. Yeah, but just one interesting thing, like actually I noticed recently is 0x Scope founder Jackson just made a poll on Twitter like a couple of days ago. He was asking like this kind of like fake usage metric is helpful for Web3 or just gonna like destroy Web3. And the final result is half of users voted yes, this is a good thing actually. So don't worry about this. And half of users just vote this gonna destroy Web3. So yeah, so it's kind of half thing. And in my perspective, this is really similar like a market bubble. So like in financial perspective, like market bubble is usually have two sides. It accelerates the market growth, and also it's gonna just destroy some like market confidence. So this is a really similar stuff. But eventually, market bubble gonna be the financial market growth driver. That's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Yao, if you care to comment as well. Hello. Oops. Ping you again. Yao, are you still here? Somehow I think he's losing. Yeah, I think he's losing his video image. That's okay. That's okay. We still have other questions to go through, anyways. On the app side, right? We also had some in-depth conversation, and now I guess for the last 10 minutes or so, I'll leave the floor open again for everyone, and then to discuss something more general, right? I guess today, right? In this particular panel, all of you are masters, close friends, right, and close allies, right, and obviously, I expect that you will continue to be an integral part of the whole mask ecosystem. But there are other social ecosystems existing as well, right, such as the Lens protocol, kind of ecosystems such as Farcasa, etc. So do want to hear your view in terms of comparing and coexisting with other ecosystems. So again, I guess we can start with our the two projects that we incubated. Maybe we can start with Homin and then followed by Terrence, and then we can have Joshua and Luke. Okay, let's go in that order.
So the question is about like the experience with mass ecosystem, right?
Yeah. As compared to Lens and Farcaster, what's your view on working with comparing and maybe working with other ecosystems?
Yeah. I think so. As everyone can see, so we are a more complete ecosystem. Like we have the information layer, we have a communication layer like Web3MQ. We also have our application, social application like Firefly. So we also have the identity or profile system. So we wanna be more open and not doing everything by ourselves. So we just like separate each part as the individual project, and we talk to each other, we work with each other, but we also work with all the projects outside of the ecosystem. So like we also work with SendingMe, we also work with other communication layer, we also have all the other data sources. So we are we're a very supportive, we're a very open, we are very open to public. We are originally a very open source ecosystem. We want to talk to more and more people, and we want to make the whole industry more prosper, not only ourselves prosper. So I think that is also a really, this is also why we want to just do more investment to help the industry, also to incubate the industry. So we want to just bring more and more value to China, also to Shanghai. We can just bring like more Web3, so more Web3 values to China, to all the Chinese. So we can just be like grow more Chinese project in APAC, also everywhere. So we want to support. We want to be more open, and everyone can just like talk to us. We're not only work inside of the ecosystem. We also want to work outside of the ecosystem.
Sure. And maybe Terrence, yeah.
Yeah, just a quick answer about this question is I think like both of us is working toward like decentralized social protocols and also social ecosystem, but the ideology and the methodology behind this is kind of different. The first thing is I think if you like, for example, I'm a Lens builder as well, and I'm a Farcaster builder as well. But like once we choose Farcaster or Lens ecosystem, then I have to choose their infrastructure. For example, like Lens is using like the fully on-chain stuff, and Farcaster is more like a Mastodon style, and there's no third way. But like in Master Network and our ecosystem is more like more flexible, and also composability is better than those. For example, like if you just want to replace one component of your applications, then you can just feel free to make your choice. You don't worry about like the entire infra underneath. So that's something in my mind. And also, yeah, Homin just mentioned like we're definitely gonna help like APAC region developer. I think that's like the strong part of our ecosystem. For example, like we really have a really good like Japan community, and also we have some like impact in South Asia as well. Yeah, that's something in my mind so far.
Sure. I think Yao just came back. So I just wanted to quickly update Yao as well. We were just discussing, about our views on MaaS, maybe compared to other ecosystems such as Lens, such as Farcasa. How do you work with them, and how do you compare, with them? And I think Homin and Terrence both just expressed their opinions. I guess we're going to go into the order with maybe Joshua following next, and then maybe Luke, and Yao, you can be the last to comment. Yep. Okay. So Joshua, is your floor now.
I think when we were first in the industry, those data that was created in the what we call now the open web was, I mean, like the content data was around 70 per day. Now we are around 120,000. So basically, we have more than 100% growth, more than 100 times growth, right, in the last 2 years. So from our perspective, we are more like the indexer, or in another way, we cover these information. It's kind of like how search engines would benefit from all of different new websites. We'd love to see new social protocols. Either they're generating information, they're consuming information, or they somehow stimulate the whole development of the industry. So I mean, of course, these products, they have very different approaches, right? Some of them use purely on blockchain, some of them might be more federated, but all in all, as long as they're providing information, they're creating information in a permissionless and open way, we're on the right track. Because I think the more important thing isn't about how we in the open web fight against each other, but it's more like how we get united and fight together against Web2 or centralized giants. At the end of the day, none of these Web3 projects is powerful or big enough to fight alone facing any of these traditional social medias or any informational social applications. So what I believe is that if we could better unite all the power that we can, then we might have a chance to counter the whole centralization issues. And I love to see how new protocols getting along, and how new approaches would be discovered.
Sure. We'll leave the floor to Luke now.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Lens and Farcaster are kind of like the representative projects of Web3 Social today, along with Mask and how these ecosystems interact. I think it's a very key issue, right? Like if they just build closed wall gardens, it's basically Web2 all over again. There's not much of a difference. My thesis is that I think they all have like different levels of openness, right? Lens is obviously like fully on chain, so it's easier to work with. Farcaster somewhat has a more closed off approach, at least for now. We don't know if it's going to be fully open source in the future, but yeah. So in that sense, I think some things are still unknown. Like it's a lot easier to work with Lens because it's permissionless, fully on chain. Same with like a lot of Mask's products. Farcaster somehow has more of a top-down approach. I think they're spending more time curating their community, which can work in terms of the application layer of social, but also it may or may not be a great thing for the infrastructure layer. So, for me, I guess, one, Web3MQ works with everybody, or as long as it's physically possible to work with these protocols. Sometimes, the way they're designed, it's somewhat harder to be interoperable across these. Like, it's a lot easier to be interoperable with Lens, for example. Philosophically, for us, we believe in bridging and connecting. That's like the key for messaging and interaction protocols, and that's the reason why we are building ourselves as a trustless relay network. So that's very close to heart for us. As for how the industry is developing, I think some subsets are still not so well established right now. But for me, I think they all have different approaches. Very exciting each way. For us, it's just about being able to maintain the interoperability and connections across these different platforms. For us, that's our mission, because we really think that having interoperability and composability is the key to the very reason why we're building Web3 Social, like all over again. Otherwise, it's pretty meaningless. Just go on Facebook or Twitter. It's decently nice for most use cases, and so. For us, we just hope to be able to hold things together.
Sure. And last but not least, let's also hear about Yao's comments.
Yeah. So I think the whole Web3 social industry is still in a pretty early stage, and no one knows maybe 2 years later what kind of social application will be appear in the industry. And of course, the Nance and the Forecast and the Mask are good, nice social ecosystem, and go through a different approach to build a social ecosystem. We are also building on Nance, and we are also looking to the possibilities in how to work with the Forecast. I think for the Web3 applications, we should open for all the opportunities and try the different kind of things, kind of protocols. I think Nance is pretty good, and which provide the whole social protocol and applications. But still, currently we don't see kind of the decent application on Nance. Yeah, I think as applications or as a developers, we should try different kind of protocols as much as possible for now, and try to find a way to build real social apps and even other kind of apps, what kind of which user need. Yeah, that's my comment.
Okay, great. And I think the time is really well timed, I must say. We are reaching the end of our conversation today, and we managed to go through all of the questions that we intended to, and a huge thank and gratitude to every one of you attending the session today. And I'll hand over the floor to Duanwei, and he can continue with the next session.